So welcome to our next session entitled From Hype to Hard Results, what it actually takes to implement AI that moves customer experience metrics. I'd like to welcome up to the stage our guest speaker, Carmit DiAndrea, Director of AI Data Management from NICE.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy.
Hi everyone, my name is Carmit DiAndrea. I'm the Director of AI Data Management at NICE, one of the largest customer experience platforms in the world. So what does it actually take for AI to move the needle on customer experience? That's the question that every organization is grappling with, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But I want to start with a complaint. Not my complaint. This one is around 3,700 years old. This is a cuneiform tablet from ancient Mesopotamia, about 1750 BC. And a merchant named Nani wrote to a copper trader named AI Nasir. And what he wrote was essentially, you promised me quality copper, you gave me garbage, you treated my messenger with contempt, I want my money back. This is the oldest known customer complaint, and Nani's frustration is completely understandable. He didn't get what he paid for. He reached out in an effort to try and get resolution. Now here's the interesting piece. If AI Nasir were in business today, he would get a 1-star review because his response was, sorry, no refunds. And that response would be immortalized on the internet for forever. Bad customer experience is ancient, but the tools to fix it at scale, those are brand new, and the organizations that don't use them are writing their own version of AI Nasir's story right now. So what's changed since 1750 BC? Quite a bit, but the most important change today is that consumer AI adoption grew about 8-fold in 2 years. We had 100 million weekly active users in 2023. By the end of 2025, we had 800 million weekly active users, and that figure continues to grow in 2026. And the really important part about that is that what consumers experience as they're using ChatGPT, as they're using Gemini and Nano Banana and Claude and other AI tools, when they use it for work, when they use it for their personal lives, that's creating the experience and the expectation that they have with every single company that they do business with. That's not a technology curve. That is a complete reset. And what consumers expect today is personalized, chatty, intelligent responses and resolutions to their questions. And while they may expect it with ChatGPT or Gemini as they're writing a speech, as they are preparing for their everyday lives, they also expect it out of every single organization that they choose to do business with. So these are some of the shifts that we see the largest organizations in the world making today in preparation to be AI ready. The first one is they're responding to rising customer expectations. Customers expect effortless, connected, consistent experiences across every single moment and every single channel. Now, AI is shifting from a tool to an operating system, and organizations are responding accordingly. An operating system is not something that you layer on. It's an engine behind every single decision and every single experience. We're also seeing platform consolidation. As a tech provider, we've seen a lot of different trends and a lot of different balances between do organizations choose best in breed, or do they make a platform decision? And at this point in time, we're actually seeing a pretty significant shift back to a platform that you don't layer on, but essentially a decisioning engine that sits behind every single decision and every single experience. And the last trend that we're really seeing is a shift from reactive to predictive, proactive customer engagements. Companies more and more are using historical data about their customers to reach out proactively and to anticipate customer needs before they ever happen. But are these shifts enough to deliver true ROI on AI? More and more we're seeing that those shifts are not sufficient. And so here are some of the things that the largest organizations that we work with, some of the largest organizations on the planet, these are the things that they're doing that are separating them from the enterprises that are failing to deliver ROI on AI. These are the things that enterprises that are scaling agentic AI into real results are doing. And so we'll dig into each of these in a little bit. The first one is that they're making agentic AI the front door. And that's not to say that generative AI, the deterministic AI, don't have a space. They do. But they're making AI, agentic AI, the first touch point that their customers have with them. The second is a shift from automation to orchestration. My history is in data analytics, and for as long as I can remember, we've always tried to automate as many of the manual tasks as possible. And the messaging is still around automation. But automation only delivers so much. You really need to start thinking about orchestration, especially when we look at very large environments that have dozens and dozens of technology relationships. At some point, you're going to have to account for the fact that an AI agent that you built is going to be interacting with an AI agent that you didn't build. And so we really need to think about end-to-end orchestration as opposed to just automation. The third one is fuel your systems with connected intelligence. This is where data really becomes incredibly important. The more data that you have, the cleaner the data, the better organized the data, the more you can use that data to really drive intelligent decision-making in real time. Operate a hybrid workforce. I know we talk a lot about how AI is going to eliminate humans. And I don't believe that's the case. I think we're going to see massive repurposing of humans. And in some areas, we're actually going to see the multiplication of the need for humans. You can't work in AI today without being at a line in a convenience store or a cocktail party and be asked, so what's the future of human work? And for us, the future of human work is really a hybrid workforce. It's not about massive elimination of humans like a very infamous US airline decided to do. They decided to eliminate all humans. It was an awful, awful experience. And their financial results show it. And so we really need to think about how do we design systems by which humans and AI agents can work together. And we need to think about how we design systems for humans to oversee this hybrid workforce. And fifth, we need to design for your complex CX reality from day one. We're seeing a lot of very traditional organizations that have grown over many, many decades, and they have technology that they've taken with them over many decades. And so trying to cobble together a series of fairly aged technology solutions to work together is very costly, it's very challenging, and there are significant limitations to doing that. So you really need to have a plan to create a tech stack that supports you in the reality that it is today. So let's dive right in and start with priority number one. It's make agentic AI the front door, not a side door, not a fallback. This needs to be the primary way customers enter and move through your organization. So if the only thing that you do this year or next year, or if the place that you choose to start is by taking your IVR and taking your chatbot and converting it into an agentic system, that is going to deliver a massive return on your investment. Remember, we're all using ChatGPT. We're all using Gemini in our everyday lives. We expect to be able to ask a question in natural language and to be able to get a pretty darn good response within seconds. A response that is human-like, a response that is quick and intelligent, and even offers us the next step in the process. That is what your customers expect. The minute they pick up the phone and hear an IVR tree that says, press 1 for this, press 2 for that, you've lost. So Start with agentic as your front door, and you can progress from there. A few very, very interesting statistics that we've gathered from a variety of different industry sources. 72% of consumers say they have experienced benefits from AI and automation in customer service. So customers are aware, and they expect you to have AI in the systems that they interact with. 69% of consumers trust companies that use AI as much or more than those that don't. I think that's a really important statistic. As an organization that sells technology solutions into some of the largest brands that we all do business with, one of the largest hurdles is getting through legal and getting through all of the tech conversations about guardrails and data safety and data security. And those are really, really important, but they shouldn't be blockers. Your consumers expect you to implement AI into the systems that they use to interact with you, and they will think less of you if you don't. So priority number 2 is a shift from automation to orchestration. And I want to be precise about what that is because the distinction really matters. Automation handles a task. So if I'm a utility customer and I go to my utility website, I expect to be able to pay my bill online. That is a task. Orchestration is very different. Orchestration connects systems, channels, people, and AI into one coherent experience that moves towards resolution. Opus Research puts it well when they say the real value comes from how everything is orchestrated. The magic happens when AI agents and human agents work as one, powered by context, data, and insights. Some of the rising topics that we talk about quite a bit and support our customers with is the question of is MCP dead and is agent to agent the next line of defense? So MCP is a protocol by which AI agents interact with systems, and agent to agent is a protocol by which AI agents interact with other AI agents. More and more, we believe that we're going to see a lot of agent-to-agent communication. And that's incredibly challenging because a lot of these agents are not agents that you own. They're not agents that you as an organization will build or even deploy. We have an expectation that as consumers, we will start building our own AI agents, and we will use those to interact with the systems that organizations make available to us. And so it's really important to think about not just automation of singular tasks, but how you string together a variety of different tasks using humans and AI agents that you don't own in order to deliver results to consumers. So priority number 3 is fuel your agentic systems with connected intelligence that compounds. So here's the truth. 49, I think we have something odd happening on the side of the screen. Thank you. So here's the truth. 49% of organizations say slow service is caused by fragmented data. Nearly half of your competitors are running AI on broken inputs. And that's not an AI problem, that's a data architecture problem. And it's a significant competitive advantage if you solve it first. And Blue Cross of Idaho is one of our customers that actually solved their data problem first before layering AI solutions on top of that. So as a result of solving some of their data architecture issues, Blue Cross of Idaho was able to experience a 39% improvement in their interaction time. That's a reduction in average handle time. They also saw faster talk time for very specialized calls. So very niche calls where there's not a lot of data available, they also experienced a pretty significant improvement in efficiency there. And finally, those two alone led to $250,000 of annual savings. That's simply by cleaning up their data architecture. I've spent a good portion of my life in data, and so one of my favorite interview questions to ask is, tell me about your data systems, how clean are they? And I've never, ever had anyone say it's a complete garbage heap. But in many situations, it is. And it's a really, really hard problem to solve. It's an unsexy problem to solve. It's like spending money on the foundation and the electrical in your new house. Nobody gets to see it, but it's a lot of worthwhile investment, and it will drive the ROI that you get from AI. If your data isn't clean, if it's not readily accessible, AI is data hungry, and it's going to fail. So priority number 4, it's operate a hybrid workforce, not an agentic workforce, but a hybrid workforce. And when people hear agentic AI, many think it's automation replacing human headcount, and that's really the wrong mindset, at least from NICE's perspective. The organizations that are winning in this space are not replacing their humans. They are repurposing their humans, if not multiplying them. AI handles the routing, the research, the repetitive tasks, the fulfillment. But humans are handling the relationships, and they're also handling the judgment calls, especially the tricky judgment calls. And that's not going to change anytime soon. So, not too long ago, 4 astronauts splashed down in the Pacific Ocean right off of San Diego in the United States. They had traveled farther from Earth than any other human being in history, about 252,000 miles, breaking Apollo 13's record by more than 4,000 miles. So when the crew reached the far side of the moon, they went completely dark. 40 minutes of total communication blackout. No signal, no data, no contact with Earth. The most sophisticated mission that NASA had ever flown, billions of dollars of technology, and for 40 minutes, the computers couldn't help. It was just 4 humans alone, with their training and their expertise, making judgment calls in the dark. So NASA's statement after splashdown said, "This moment belongs to the thousands of people across 14 countries who built, tested, and trusted this vehicle." NASA described the system as trusted. Not automated, not programmed, but trusted. And the same principle really applies to AI and CX. You need to design with trust as a variable. Because here's what Artemis II really proved. It proved that the technology can deliver a great deal of automation, a great deal of acceleration and capability. But when it comes down to it, you need the human in the loop, because the only reason that mission succeeded was because we had humans caring about the outcome and making decisions using their own judgment. So priority number 5, design agentic AI for your complete CX reality from day one. This cannot be an afterthought. This cannot be something that you try to add on after the fact onto aged systems. Agentic AI only delivers lasting value when it's built for real CX, not experimentation. And what separates the two is memory. Your AI needs 2 different types of inputs. They need systems of record that capture exactly what happened. That is your structured transactional data. And it also needs system of engagement that captured how it happened, why it happened, the sentiment, the intent, the context. When you combine those 2, you have a system that knows your customer, that knows their preferences, that knows what has happened historically, what the customer is likely to want, what is happening in the moment, and what the outcome needs to be. So 5 priorities. These aren't independent work streams, they're a system. Each one enables the next. And together they represent what it looks like to build an agentic enterprise that delivers hard, measurable CX results. So as I wrap up today, I'd like to leave you with just one thought. If AI can do everything, what is the uniquely human work that remains? Today we stand at the threshold where AI doesn't just make us faster, it makes us present. It puts us in a position to stop chasing efficiency. Efficiency is a commodity. Trust is a luxury. We aren't building faster mailrooms, we're building deeper relationships with our customers. Thank you. I'd love to open it up to questions.
Hi. My question is around B2B, so hopefully it's relevant. There's 2 points that I want to get a little bit more elaboration on. One is, when you talk about AI and access to data, how do you overcome the internal reluctance when silos don't share the data for various reasons? And one of them is like the current negative perception about AI, given what some of the companies have done in terms of layoffs. So there's reluctance to cooperate, even though this is a strategic initiative and things like that. The second part is even more customer encompassing, is like the trust. We talk about more digital trust. If your employees don't even trust internally, how do you expect the customer to trust your system or your data or your outcomes?
It's a great question. I'm going to start with the second part. Hold on to the mic because I may ask you to restate the first part. So the second part is, how do you get your employees to trust a brand new AI system? Trust is a process. I think one of the statements I use often is, in God we trust, everyone else bring data. About 12 years ago, I started working in speech analytics, and it felt very big brotherish to everybody. Agents were used to having a sampling of their calls monitored. They were used to that. They'd accepted that. They trusted that process. But now we were going to monitor everything. And it was a process of building trust. So a lot of it comes down to change management. You need to share with your employees why you're doing this, what the intended outcome and benefit is, and what the intended benefit to them is. And then you have to make them use it. There will be resistance. You're going to have customers, agents, buyers who are really excited about it because they use ChatGPT, they use Nano Banana, they love it. They want to use it at work. They already are, even if you don't allow them to. And then you're going to have the technophobes who don't want to change. Change is hard, it's uncomfortable. And so change management is really, really, really important. You need to think about how you're going to present this to them, the way that you're going to talk about the benefit to them, and then you have to make them use it. And they will. They've adopted to every single new technology trend in their personal lives. They will use it. They need to feel good about it, and that's your job.
What about the customer side?
On the customer side, we've talked about the fact that getting through legal, getting through all of these data governances are really hard, and it should be, because we're holding really important customer information. We're holding their healthcare data. We're holding their credit card information. And so it's a process of ensuring that every single data silo that you have is well protected and well architected, and that the ways that you're going to enable all of these different silos to interact with each other, and the way that you're going to layer AI on top of it is protected, it's grounded, it has the right guardrails and the right technology providers. We're having these conversations every single day, and so these are not foreign to us. We've made it through this process, so let your vendor guide you and help you and support you as you go through these conversations.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, we've got about
Up front?
Do we have one over there?
Can you speak a bit more about data governance and basically how you went through the process of developing, or I guess researching, the guardrails that you would put in place?
Yeah. So I will tell you that since ChatGPT came out, every single tech provider in the space has been racing at rocket speed to figure that out, to figure out the right guardrails. Because we don't want to create guardrails that make this feel like a deterministic system that doesn't know how to respond. But we don't want to make the guardrails so loose that you have car makers who are selling cars for $1 through a chatbot. that happened. And so there's a very fine line and layers of guardrails that have to be built. And so your tech providers can give you very, very good details on these are the guardrails that exist. This is the guardrail that exists at the intent level. These are the guardrails that exist universally. And this is how we use your data. And so I would say that do your own research and have a good idea of what data is absolutely paramount for you to protect and where it lives, and how good of a job your organization is doing at protecting it. And then really talk to your tech solution providers, the ones that you're doing POCs with, the ones that you're considering and doing RFPs with. Figure out, have them talk to you about this. This should be a key section of your RFP. How are you going to protect my data, while also striking a balance with ensuring I get the best out of these agentic solutions? In the back.
Thanks a lot. This was really good. So given the technology is changing so rapidly in like every month or probably in weeks, how are you designing systems that can withstand, say, even quarters, if not years of,
So I think the question is, technology is moving so quickly. How do you design when things change so rapidly, 1, 2, 3 quarters ahead? I would tell you that we always keep the goal in mind. So we talk to some of our largest customers across every single sector, and we really use the North Star of what are they trying to achieve and what are they trying to achieve for their consumers. And that really guides us in designing a roadmap. We still use deterministic systems because compliance is really important. We still use RAG because your knowledge base is the best source of information on your processes, your procedures, and your brand message to your customers. But we also look ahead and think about these solutions can do X today. What are the limitations that we're experiencing today? What are the challenges that we're experiencing today? And how might they shift in the future or be eliminated in the future? So we've talked a little bit about CMP and A to A. It's incredibly challenging today, and we have very, very few customers who are doing that. But we know that's going to have to be a problem we have to solve. We know that, and so we're designing with that in mind. We have 2 minutes. Any last questions?
Thank you. This has been a very informative presentation.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering, in terms of, obviously technology has grown and it continues to grow, and all of our data is somewhere in different databases. And some of that, when we talk about machine learning and predictive modeling, how, from a public sector perspective, because that's where I'm from, do we keep trust when perhaps an AI could not necessarily be helpful, but be influential in terms of someone's decision making? So if my job to be done, maybe I think I've defined it, and maybe that AI wants me to do something else. How do we keep the AI from constantly saying, how am I going to generate revenue, or how am I going to meet this goal, without taking in those ethical guardrails of having that individual consumer's free will, which could be a backfire effect for that person?
Great question. I'll give it 2 answers. The first is that the guardrails that you design, the prompts that you design for your AI systems, they need to be very, very specific. So in public sector, you're obviously not trying to sell anything, you're trying to support. And so the guardrails and the prompts really need to include that as a goal to achieve and things not to do. I think the other piece is really about data observability. These systems are incredibly intelligent. In many ways, they're black boxes. They are using data, and they are making decisions, and they're not telling you how. And so you need observability. You need data at every single point in the process to tell you, how is the system performing? How is it making decisions? What decisions is it making? What data is it using? And that's really the importance of the human in the loop. The human in the loop needs to monitor how the system is using data, how it's performing, and provide guidance. Maybe that is a change in the way that it interacts with the knowledge base. Maybe it's a change in prompt. Maybe it's a change in guardrails. But a human needs to be assessing how the system is performing and providing constant upgrades and optimizations to ensure that the system continues to perform well, but is also adhering to the guardrails and the standards that you set.
Thank you.
Great. And that concludes this session for track 3.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Carmit.
Thank you.
Very informative.